The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
As a former New Hampshire state representative who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963, he currently serves on the New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights. He's a product of Birmingham, Alabama, where at one time he had to guess how many jelly beans were in a fruit jar just to be able to vote.
We've come a long way, but we're not there yet.
Together we will explore the visible laws, invisible laws, and the structures above and beneath our human surface that keep us reaching for the stars. It is his goal to work with you in putting Nashua back on top, to be voted the #1 city in the nation again.
We are in a crisis situation, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I'm Harvey Keye. Welcome to Nashua Strong.
And hello again, Nashua, New Hampshire. I am so pleased to be with you today, as I am always pleased to be with you. We skip a few weeks for some reasons. We just don't have the kind of guests we want every time. But if you've heard the introduction is sort of telling you that I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. So if you hear a little southern drawl, it is to be romanticized, and take it that way, please. I wear this hat today because in my introduction they said the fellow who was in Birmingham, Alabama, who wanted to vote, went in to vote, and they said to him, count the number of jelly beans in this jar, and then count the number of bubbles in this bar of soap, and you could vote. Well, that guy was Harvey Keye. And I just come back from, I'm wearing the hat from Korea. This is 1956, in late 56 and 7, when in Birmingham, it was illegal to walk on the street with white folks. Now, I use that term, and I don't like the term, but I want to keep using it because that was used at that time. I don't use it anymore, but that's what we were indoctrinated with. For 17 years, I was under the feet of the two most racist, white supremacist people that I've ever met or have ever heard of other than Hitler. And their names was George Wallace and Bull Connor. I wear this hat to remind me and my audience and everybody I meet that it could happen again if we're not mindful, if we don't stop it when we hear it. We just cannot continue those kinds of things for the rest of our lives. And I think right now in our city called Nashua, and we jumped from Birmingham, Alabama to Nashua. That was 50 years ago, 60 years ago. But I did that for a reason. I don't like Birmingham. I didn't like it then. I didn't know any difference. But I love Nashua. I couldn't vote there. When I got to Nashua, I got a chance to become a state representative with Governor Gene Shaheen. And then just most recently, under Maggie Hassan, I became a human rights commissioner. Now, I won't tell you the story of Harvey in Birmingham. We'll do that another time. But I am so pleased to be with you today. I have one of the most loquacious and eloquent women in the city of Nashua. That's in my opinion. And in some other people's opinion also. In some people it's not. But that's okay. We understand that Sandra Ziehm has been a trailblazer in the city of Nashua of trying to impact people to just be better citizens. She's been in the real estate business. She's been in the school system. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's all those kinds of people. But most of all, she's a lovely lady. It is my pleasure to introduce to you today in the city of Nashua. But before we go there, I brought a little thing with me to not read, but yes, and read too, because I could make a mistake if I don't read it. You know, and I know, that Nashua is one of the top cities in the world. Not the top city, but in the world, top cities in the world where people can raise a family and be relatively safe and happy. And I keep saying this every show because we ought to be so proud that we want to help Donchers, Mayor Donchers, keep it that way. And one of the ways I think we can keep it that way is say hello to everyone you meet with a smile on your face, whether you know them or not. And we got to get back to those basics. And I'm talking to the choir. I know you guys who are watching me say, well, I know how to do that, but we're not doing it. The other way I think we need to do a few things is get our kids to respect their moms, their dads, and teachers. If you don't get this kind of start out of the gate, we're going to be doomed. At one time when I was young, we were number 1, 2, and 3 in the world in reading, writing, and arithmetic. Today we're less than 30, or more than 30. We're around 25 or 30 of the free countries in the world. 197 countries, we're number 30 in reading, writing, and arithmetic. How do you think we're going to get another spaceship into the sky if we don't learn to read, write, and count? I've said that little piece. I like to say it every time because I want you who are watching me to take it to heart because I'm so meaningful about this. I am a tear unvoted because they didn't let me vote in Birmingham. I came and I've adopted New Hampshire as my home state, and I will never, ever, ever go back to Birmingham, Alabama to live. For that reason, and George Wallace and Bull Connor, who were and still are, even in their deathbeds, the most white supremacist people I've ever met. Now let me introduce you to someone who's not a white supremacist. She's a supremacist, but she's not a white supremacist. She's a supremacist in trying to get people to be better citizens. Her life has impacted people in this state in such a beautiful way. And this, you know, everyone is not going to like everybody. I know some people who say, Sandra Ziehm. I say, yeah, but watch your mouth when you talk to me about Sandra Ziehm. And they shut up right away. Let me introduce you. It's my pleasure to have the president of the Board of Education, Sandra Ziehm.
Well, thank you, Harvey. So many things you said, I was relating to everything you said. Of course, you know, that twang of mine is not from New England. so I come from Virginia, Newport News, Virginia. So I can remember my father as a child saying to me over and over, why would anybody move north in that cold winter wonderland and go to their death in the ice and snow? And I said, well, I don't know, Daddy. And here I am. They're going to put my body, my kids are all here. My life is here. This is my home.
How long have you been here?
72. I got my real estate license.
We came in here about the same time.
Actually, you know, I was trying to remember when I first met you, and it's been a lot longer. Time flies when you're having fun, even when you're not. So, but you know, every one of us has we are all teachers. The reality of life is that we teach each other by our ability to communicate to each other, by our ability to be honest and sincere with each other. We teach each other that way. And on the board, in politics, politics has become caustic. It's become confrontational. It's become, and I tell my kids and I tell myself, if you can't say it nicely, then you need to shut up and go home. Because you should be able to say, I should be able to disagree with you completely without offending you. I should be able to say, you think the North is great, I think the South is great. But it doesn't mean I don't love you and you don't love me, or that we can't get along as human beings. It just means you like chocolate ice cream, I like vanilla ice cream.
Would that border on the First Amendment right?
You know, I often look at the Constitution. The Constitution says equal education. There is nothing equal about our education.
There's nothing equal, period.
In the
world.
And what a sad.
There's no equality.
But why do we stress? I hear people stress that all the time about the Constitution, and I feel like saying, if you think public education is equal, it goes to show that you really haven't been involved in our education system in years of late. And so, because it evolves, everything changes. And I mean, in my day, and I probably said this on the last show, but in my day, they didn't have washers and dryers in their schools. Now we have schools who ask us, can we have a washer and dryer in the school? Harvey, why would you think they'd...
Why?
Because they have kids who come in dirty. They have kids who come in with
a washer and a dryer.
They sometimes wash their clothes. They send food home in a backpack on their back to them. We give them their shots. We get their eyes checked. We give them eyeglasses. We give them fluoride for their teeth. We have social workers. We have psychologists. We have guidance counselors. We have, I would say 50–60% of our kids come to school unprepared to learn. And when you come into school tired and hungry, we have a documented, we have 168 homeless kids. So how do you...
In Nashua?
In Nashua.
Let me just ask you again. Folks, 168 kids?
That's documented. They're telling me...
Where do they go after school if they're homeless?
Where some of them live in a car. Some of them, one night they're with the aunt, one night they're with grandma, one night they're with their neighbor, one night they're with their friend, one night they're in a hotel because sometimes they do have some shelters, but not enough. We definitely don't have enough shelters in New Hampshire.
What can we do about that, Sandra?
What I think we can do, it's just what you said at the beginning of this show. When you meet somebody and you see a true need, then if you can at all help that person, I'm not talking about, I have this thing, I'm not going to enable somebody to do drugs. I'm not going to give somebody money when I feel that money is going to end up being spent on drugs. But I'm going to help those among us who are vulnerable, who cannot help themselves. Children can't, I didn't ask to be born. One child is born to Donald Trump's family, and money, sky's the limit, and the other one is born to a homeless parent. Through nothing, that's fate. That's luck of the draw. I mean, so it is not that child's fault that they were born into hunger, that they were born into despair, that they were born into heartache. And so those are the people, the most vulnerable in our society are the people that we become, I'm a preacher.
Sandra,
but I have to tell you,
let me just say, folks, Sandra's been on the show before, and I've known this lady for a long time. I asked her to come. I didn't have to beg her. She came willingly. And the reason I asked her, she has something to say. And she has something, she calls herself a preacher. You could call it what you want, a philosopher, a preacher, a message, whatever. She's telling us the truth. And what we don't hear every day is the truth. You got to know that there's 168 kids in the public school in Nashua, New Hampshire, who are homeless. To me, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. And to me, I'll say to me, I'll be speaking with the mayor's office and to whomever, and I don't really know if I have an impact, but every little voice helps. I will make a noise saying, this is what we can't afford. We can't afford to have young people who are homeless in our public school imagine being anything more than nothing. If they're at nothing now, we don't help them, what can we expect? We can expect drugs. We can expect lack of community involvement. We can expect police distrust. We can, and disrespect for teachers and especially their parents. I can't believe. I do believe. Well, I don't believe. Well, I do believe. I don't know why I believe it. But I'm telling you, this has got to stop. And we can stop it because we're resilient, we're able, we're intelligent, but we cannot keep going down this slippery slope of disrespecting each other and disrespecting the kids. If we disrespect them, you could bet they're going to disrespect you. And we need to repeal that law in 1950 that says if you spank your kid or, you got to moderate that. You got to mediate that. You got to have something. We can work that out. But you can't have the police come to the house to arrest a parent because the kid say he got hit by the parent. We have to do something about that. Now, I'm not a social scientist. Not trying to be one. And really, I'm asking you, please help us do this. Now, get back to Sandra, because again, we don't get enough time to do this. And again, we don't want to overflow you with what you would call.
But every one of us can do it. Every one of us can do it on a one-on-one basis. The people you meet in your day, I meet different people. So the people you meet, when you come across somebody who has a heartache, who has a need, and if you can help that person, that's what's made our country great, is that I still believe that in this great country that we're so blessed to live in, I believe that the best good that comes is that nucleus of people who care about community. I can think of so many people in Nashua who are committed to community. The Rotary, the men in that club, the money they raise, and it's one good cause after another that they support. And those things do make a difference. I'm not saying it's enough. Our families are weak. We need stronger families. And it concerns me that people will say, well, it's up to the parent. So what happens to that child who has no parent? What happens to that child who has a single mother or a single father, and they have to work 2 jobs to support them? And so I had one little boy say to me, I said to him, why would you, he had stolen iPads. And I said, he had like 5 of them. And I said, what do you do with 5 iPads? You can only use one, honey. Why would you steal 5? He said, well, my mother works at night, and I don't have money for a Coke. So when I take those things, I go and sell them, and I use that money to buy myself a Coke, or I use that money to, and my heart broke for this kid, because what is he saying to me? He's saying to me that to survive.
He's screaming out for help.
Absolutely, and I did my best, and I look back when I was young, and I can tell you that there were people who had teachers who had such an impact on my life, and our teachers, are they perfect? Is every single one of them wonderful? No, but I can tell you the consensus of them are way above average.
Yeah.
We have teachers who go way beyond the norm. You wouldn't believe. I mean, saying to Johnny, I put a sandwich in your knapsack, honey. So tonight, if you get hungry, just remember the sandwich is there
That's
for you.
huge.
I think it's huge, and that's a small thing. How much trouble is it to make a sandwich and put it in somebody's knapsack? When you know that child's going to be hungry, I think you see that can have a lifelong impact. Because in that child's heart, he knows that there was somebody who cared. And someday, he will return that. Maybe it won't be with a sandwich. Maybe he'll do something else. But pay it forward.
Additionally, Sandra, I think, along with you, that when you give and serve young people without asking for anything in return, their imagination explodes. Their curiosity explodes.
Yeah.
And you don't know where you're going to help them by getting them up to a new level of seeing what is so different and wonderful.
I went to when we had the at-risk school. It has closed since because of money. By at-risk, I mean these are kids who had emotional discipline problems. And I went to the school, and they had brought together like 10 students, and they were all sharing with us how it was a smaller environment than our regular schools, and it was specifically tuned in to these children who have discipline needs, if you will. And so they were all sharing, and when it was almost like I was compelled, and I said, well, you guys look at me and you think I have the world, you think I have everything easy, life is great, look at how lucky she is. She doesn't know anything about heartache or sorrow or not having food to eat on the table. But I said, my parents were alcoholics. My father died an alcoholic, died when he was 59 because he was addicted, just like, not as bad as drugs, but it was a bad form of, it was an addiction. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, I will not let this happen to me. I will break this chain. Somehow I will make my life better. And one day at a time, one decision at a time, I did that. And now I'm here, and you look at me and you think I never had a care in the world. But I'm telling, well, this one little girl in the room commenced to sob. I mean, like convulsing sobbing. And I was overwhelmed. So afterwards, the principal came over to me and she said, both of her parents are alcoholics. And she internalizes and says to herself, what did I do wrong? What can I do to make my parents better? How can I make my daddy stop beating my mama? How can I make my daddy stop drinking all that alcohol? And that's what you do if you study those things. Kids do internalize and think that it's their fault. And it's almost like role reversal for some of these kids. They become the adult, and the adult is the child. And sometimes rightfully so, unfortunately. But I believe, you see, I was trying to acknowledge to them that it's not your fault. And I said it. I said, I always thought it was my fault. I always said to myself, Sandra, what did you do? Why weren't you better so that they could be better? And I said, now I know. There was nothing I could do. I can change me. You can change you. And you don't stop loving the people who have weaknesses, because we all have weaknesses, and we do. One person has alcohol, one person has something else.
We're perfectly imperfect.
Yes, we are perfect. Well said.
Yeah,
that's very well said.
We don't know what it may be, but
we are perfectly imperfect.
None of you are perfect.
Well, but I really feel that was the kind of thing when I was growing up that helped me. People who took time, adults who took time out for this young child who really didn't have anybody feeding her positive thinking, who didn't have anybody saying to her, you can overcome any obstacle. There is no obstacle you cannot overcome if you determine one decision at a time to do it.
While you're talking, I'm just thinking about my street that I lived on in Birmingham when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever age it was. I left when I was 17. But everybody on the street was my mama. And I'll tell Miss Lily on you. Or you better not do that. Or did you really do that? Or what did you do in school today?
Yeah.
This is a lady who can't read, who says, Harvey, show me what you did. And I was so proud to show her what I did, even though she didn't understand what I did. Now, that doesn't happen today.
I want to say it was Ben Carson who told a story like that when he ran for president. I think he said that his mother, now obviously a well-educated man who has made spectacular inroads in his profession, as well in humanity. I think he's made inroads. I mean, I thought he was wonderful. And he was saying that his mother, for the longest time, he didn't realize that she didn't read. She did housework to pay so that they could get what she was unable to get. Yeah. So, and it is, I tell my kids all the time, you grow under the tree where you're planted.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like I come from the South, and some of the bigotry that you were referring to, I remember back when I was in the South, and I have to tell you, I was a product of the South. I had that.
You are.
And then I came away from the South.
But you're still a product of the South.
But I hope
you are still a product of the South.
I pray God that I have gotten over some of that.
Well, no, you're a product of, that doesn't mean that your assimilation hasn't left. You've left all of that, what was historically ugly, you left to behind.
And there's an innate, you don't even realize that you're biased. You really don't, because it's so subtle. It's a disease that just crawls into your...
Well, it is designed to be exactly what it is.
And this
is not an accident. This is designed to be the way it is.
See, I tell myself now that insecure people always have to tell themselves that they're better than somebody else. Doesn't matter who, but somebody, because that's how they make themselves. And it doesn't help. That's not how you have positive. See, I have this thing that if I want to feel good about myself, I need to do something for somebody else. I need to go out and help somebody that can't help themselves. And then I can come home and look in the mirror and say, Sandra, you did good today. You helped somebody. You gave of yourself.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Reverend Sandra Ziehm. She's going to open this church called Green Grass.
She's
Bring
naive.
me some money. But anyway, she's telling, I like her here because she tells us the truth. It's down from her heart. She's not making anything up. And we speak the same language. I'm from Birmingham. I'm 100 years older than she is, but it's all right.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
The thing is, the biases, and we don't, and I said early on this show, we don't talk about race, religion, politics, because it has been with us for so long. And our discussion here about give and take on that would not help it. I think what we need to do, maybe, as we leave, find some things to leave with the audience. What can we do to become better people? And whether you come from the South, the North, East, or West, we all come from the same source, and we're all going to be part of the source. We're not going any other than what the source is. The source is the universe. You can't come from any other place, and you can't go any other place but the universe. So while we're here, maybe we could help someone feel a little bit better about themselves. And one of the things that Sandra alluded to just a minute ago is that I have a choice. I can feel good or not feel good. Take your choice. Want to feel bad or feel good? If you feel good, Sandra says she helped somebody to do better in some way, or make them feel good by saying something nice to them. All kinds of ways, a million ways. And in my case, I basically do something like say to them, let me give you this little story. I was in the library just a couple of days ago, and there was only one seat at this table of 4 people. And because all of the other booths were filled, and I asked them if I may sit there. And they said, of course you sit here. But they had a buggy full of clothing in the library. And all of these people are less than 30 years old, it seems. And I sat there and I said, you know, are these your clothes? What is this? And the young lady who sat across from me says, those are my clothes. I said, your clothes? Why are you carrying them in a buggy? And I really I didn't know. She said, because I'm homeless. And I said, you're homeless? How old? And I'm old enough to ask a young lady how old you are. And she said, I'm 28 or 29. I said, wow. I said, I'm not going to get into your case. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a minister. I'm just a guy. I want to ask you this. Do you think you're pretty? Do you think you're worthwhile? She said, no. I said, that's why you have the buggy. I said, I'm going to leave now because I got to go. I didn't have to go because I was beginning to get into their business, which I don't have that right. But I left her with something. You are beautiful. And she said, what? I said, you're beautiful. I said, because everybody's beautiful. She said, how? I said, because nobody's like you. And if we use a dictionary that says, Webster says you're unique and you're different, doesn't that say beautiful in this country? Well, I think I'm handsome, not because Webster said it, but,
you're absolutely handsome.
My mother said I was handsome, you know. So what I'm saying to her, and she said to me, that's the secret. I said, you know what the secret is? She said, what? I said, there's no secret. You're gorgeous. I left her. Now, I don't know whatever this lady is.
We have so many
but
homeless.
I left her on this level, thinking well of herself, thinking she's beautiful, and thinking, and maybe that imagination, maybe that curiosity.
It's funny you mentioned that because I had a lady call me, and lovely lady, and she was very, very concerned because there were a lot of the homeless people, they can go in the library during the day, and they have a place. You know, they can work on the computer, they can use the bathroom, and so they do frequent the library. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, if you stand in front of the library, there's an overhang, and under the overhang is like a little recessed area. It's blocked from the wind, so it wouldn't be cold in the winter. And she called and said that there were mattresses, that there were people sleeping there because the building blocked the cold. And so it gave them a shelter, if you will. So, and I think Nashua, a lot of people live down on the river there, on the Merrimack River, is it right there behind? Yeah. A lot of them live, I mean, if you go down there, you will see the debris from their living there. And I don't know, I don't have answers to all of it. I will tell you this, I think we are very fortunate in that I believe that Mayor Don Jess does the absolute best he can. I believe he's a committed man, a caring man. And I think he goes the extra mile in his life to try to make it better. And so I guess I'm in awe because he also knows education, which I especially, you can sit down, there are politicians that, in fact, in New Hampshire, I think a lot of our politicians are not familiar with education. The real, because it's evolved, it's not what it was yesteryear. And so people that went to school 50 years ago, they think it's still like it was when they went. It's not. It's a different world today. The kids have accelerated. Everything is accelerated. The multiple choice, the sex on TV, the crime on TV. Little grandson, and he's 3 years old, and the biggest thing in his life is getting a plastic gun. It drives me crazy because what is it saying to him? That guns are important, they make you powerful? Guns don't make you powerful. Guns are a tool that a bully uses. Guns are not a tool that a humane person uses. And I want to teach him that because we all need to be part of that teaching each other how to love each other and how to be kind to each other and how to make the world a better place for us all.
You know, Sandra, you know, we could do this
forever.
Forever. But we're coming to look like a few minutes here. But I want to thank you for your impactfulness in our city and how you come across so real. I mean, like mama, not grandmama. Sometimes you can be grandmama. It's okay. But you're telling the truth to those people in our audience who really need it, and all of us do need to hear this over. And we'll keep talking about this. We're not going to let it go. I'm not skipping around on subjects. We want to get respect, decency, pride, and dignity in our school system at this level. And the way we do it, we beg people like Sandra and other people in our community to come and sit with us and chat about it so you can see it. And
I have an announcement, though, Harvey, and I don't want to go off here today before I say it, because going back to Mayor Don Ches, he is having a meet and greet for Dr. Jamal Mosley, who is our new superintendent of schools.
Oh, is that an announcement?
That is, and it's going to be not this Saturday, not tomorrow.
Am I invited?
But you are absolutely invited. Listen, I hope this is a wonderful man. We're very, I will be dumbfounded if he doesn't turn out to be walk on water. Because
well, you think he'd come on this show?
I bet you he would. I bet you he would.
I don't know him.
He's a very caring, kind, committed, loving, compassionate. I've just been so impressed. And I liked Dr. Brown. You know, it came in, a lot of people, when you were talking about, some people think Sandra's wonderful and other people don't like her too much.
Well, they feel that way about me, but they don't let me know about it, you know?
I've had some let me know in lavender.
Yeah.
But a lot of people disagreed with my vote because Dr. Brown was worthy. Dr. Brown did the city of Nashua a tremendous justice by filling in a year. We lost everybody. We lost both assistant superintendents plus the superintendent. And so it rippled right all the way down. We had interims everywhere. It was a tough year. And she came in that tough year knowing nothing about, she was from Maine. So Maine is totally different from New Hampshire and didn't have the totally different job, really. She was in a more political job, I believe. But she did a great job. My only thing was that we were going to lose her eventually because she was commuting. Her family is in Maine. It wasn't close enough for her to drive back and forth daily. So she had an apartment here. And my thing was, I said, if she gets the opportunity to move close to her family, who wouldn't do that? She has a 5th grade daughter. She has a husband. And those are people she undoubtedly loves, as we love our families.
Right.
And so to be close to them is meaningful. So I felt like ultimately we would have to
Let me
lose her.
ask you this now. They're putting zeros up looking at us. Would you get Dr. Brown, what is the person's name? The new
Jamal Mosley.
And have you met him?
I have met him several times. He's wonderful.
And if you give him the stamp, okay, I'd like to have him. When is he coming? When is he
taking? 1st of July will be his first day.
Can we get him in here before?
Oh, I bet you can. As soon as school's out, he'll be free. He's teaching. He's in Sharon, Mass. right now. He has
I didn't know we had a new one.
Yeah, no, we haven't. Well, and I'm no longer the president of the board either. So.
That's okay. You done. What do you do with the board now?
You know, I'm chair of HR.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I have this thing. Every board member is equal. Every board member has one vote and one voice, their own voice, and it should be that way. We all should have equal.
You know, that's not a universal thought.
No, but I think it's very important that we be transparent, that we be...
Thank you for bringing us... Ladies and gentlemen, we are so sad that we have to let her go. But we've had a great time with the former president of the School Board of Education in New Hampshire. She's done a marvelous job. I don't know, I haven't looked at the history, but when I ask her to come on, we just have a living room, sit-down conversation. And to me, that is deep in my heart, deep in my soul, that this lady brings so much wisdom to us. And she doesn't call it that, but we call it what we want to call it because she's not in charge anymore, you know? So we could call it that. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for coming.
Well, I hope everybody will try to make it to Dr. Mosley's meet and greet.
How do I find
if you go on the mayor's website,
Yeah.
it will be there. If you call the mayor's office, he'll give you the details. I hope word is getting out because I would like.
When is it going to be?
It's next Saturday. Yeah, it's
next
May.
Saturday.
Was that May 5th or 6th, something
Yeah.
like that? I certainly have. I think I have a notice if you want me to send it to you.
Please.
But I'm sure. I just wanted for the public though. They can, if they go to the mayor's website, if they call the mayor's office.
Yeah, where's
I'm
it gonna be?
sure he's. I want to say it's at the Hunt Home, but I can't remember. I'm not sure that's
Yeah,
the exact. I should
I
have
will
before
be there.
I came
I will
here.
be there. Let me just say that.
Oh, I hope
Sandra,
so.
thank you
You'll
so
love
much.
him. He's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
and please
wonderful.
come back again.
Anytime.
Okay.
Always happy to. Lots of
Well,
hot
that's
air.
it for us, people, folks, and thank you so much for watching us. We'll see you next week, and please listen to the wisdom of Sandra Ziehm, even though she's not the president of the board.
Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.